It began with laughter, as so many tragedies do. Early autumn painted the mountains of Halvern in hues of amber and deep green when 5 friends gathered for what was meant to be a weekend adventure. The idea was simple: hike the lesser-known Echo Path, camp under the stars, and return Sunday with stories to tell. But Halvern had a history, one buried beneath the silence of its pines and whispered through its fog. The group was a mix of personalities. Clara, the photographer, saw the world through her lens, convinced that beauty could be captured even in the loneliest places. Miguel, strong and steady, was the planner, the one who knew how to read maps and find direction. Lucas, easygoing and full of jokes, was there for the thrill, not the danger. Helena, quiet, thoughtful, and fascinated by folklore, had read about the Echo Path since childhood. And Raphael, logical to a fault, dismissed every strange tale as superstition. They set out mid-afternoon, their backpacks heavy but spirits light. The first part of the trail wound through dense forest, where sunlight filtered through tall canopies, breaking into golden shards. The air was clean and crisp, filled with the earthy scent of moss. But the deeper they went, the quieter it became. The chirping of birds faded, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. After several hours, they reached a wooden sign half swallowed by ivy. The carved letters were barely visible but unmistakable: the Echo Path. "Here we are," Helena said, excitement flickering in her eyes. "They say sounds linger here longer than they should." "Acoustics," Raphael replied. "Rock formations, air density, maybe caves. Nothing supernatural." Still, even he couldn't deny the shift in atmosphere. The forest ahead seemed denser, the light dimmer. A cool wind swept down the path, and for the first time, their laughter didn't echo back the same way it came delayed, softer, as if mimicked by someone unseen. They walked until twilight. When the sun dipped behind the ridges, they stopped at a small clearing beside an ancient oak. Miguel set up camp while Lucas collected firewood. Clara, camera in hand, wandered a few meters away, capturing the play of shadow and flame. She noticed something strange through her lens: faint shapes at the edge of the clearing, almost human, but vanishing when she looked directly. She dismissed it as a trick of the light. Dinner was simple: instant soup and laughter around the fire. They spoke of work, city life, and how small they felt beneath the vastness of nature. Helena, however, kept glancing toward the trees. "Do you hear that?" she asked softly. Everyone fell silent. A faint hum seemed to rise from the ground itself, like wind passing through a hollow bone. "Just the forest settling," Miguel said, though his voice lacked conviction. But the hum grew rhythmic, almost melodic, and when Clara played back her recording, the sound had changed. What they heard wasn't wind. It was whispering. Words half-formed, repeating and overlapping like a chant from far away. They turned in for the night, unease settling over them like dew. At some point past midnight, Miguel woke to a noise, twigs snapping, then a voice calling faintly. "Miguel," it was Raphael. Or it sounded like him. He got up quietly, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped into the fog. Raphael followed moments later, thinking Miguel had gone to relieve himself. The two figures vanished beyond the trees. When dawn came, their tents were empty. Clara was the first to notice. The campfire had burned out, and their friends' footprints led away into the woods. Lucas, rubbing his eyes, tried to joke that they'd gone ahead to scout the trail. But as hours passed with no sign of them, the laughter died. The fog was thick enough to taste, damp and heavy. Even the forest felt wrong. Trees seemed to have moved places, paths twisted where they hadn't before. Helena pointed to the compass. The needle spun erratically, refusing to settle. "We're not lost," Clara said, half to herself. "We can't be." By noon, they found Miguel's red scarf tied to a branch. It was soaking wet and icy cold. Beneath it, carved into the tree bark, was a strange spiral. Helena's voice shook. "That symbol, I saw it in an old book. It means sound that returns." They kept walking. The woods grew darker, the air thicker. Every few minutes, an echo of their footsteps came from behind but slightly out of sync, like someone walking just a beat too late. When they called out for Miguel or Raphael, the forest answered with faint imitations of their own voices. By evening, exhaustion forced them to stop. They found shelter in a shallow cave and lit another fire. Lucas opened a chocolate bar, his hands trembling. "We'll get out tomorrow," he said, forcing a smile. But his eyes darted constantly to the cave mouth. Helena barely touched her food. She claimed to hear singing, distant, feminine, almost soothing. Clara heard it too, faintly. When they stepped outside, there was nothing but fog. Yet in that fog, shadows moved, shifting shapes that didn't belong to the trees. Later that night, Clara dreamt of Raphael standing by the oak tree, smiling. He beckoned her toward the forest, whispering, "It's this way. I found the way home." She woke to the same voice outside the cave. It was calm, gentle family. Helena grabbed her arm. "Don't go out there," she hissed. But Clara pulled free. She stepped into the fog and froze. A silhouette stood 10 meters away. It was Raphael's height, Raphael's build, but its posture was rigid, its limbs wrong, as if bent by invisible strings. The figure's eyes glowed faintly green. It lifted an arm in greeting. Clara blinked and it vanished, leaving behind only a faint, low vibration that seemed to come from the earth itself. She ran back into the basement. By morning, Lucas was gone. His sleeping bag was empty, his boots missing. Helena whispered that the forest was taking them one by one. Clara tried the radio, but all she heard was static and underneath it, faint laughter. They set off again, following what they thought was the direction of the main trail. But the forest no longer made sense. The terrain folded in on itself, paths circled back to where they started. Every sound echoed wrong, overlapping like layered voices. When they finally stumbled upon a stream, Helena dropped to her knees in relief. But Clara noticed something strange. The water was perfectly still, unmoving despite the slope. And when she looked closer, her reflection didn't match her movements. It blinked when she didn't. "Let's go," she whispered. But Helena didn't move. She was staring into the fog. "Do you hear them?" she asked. Voices drifted through the mist. Miguel, Lucas, Raphael. They sounded close, calling their names with warmth and laughter. "They're waiting," Helena said softly. "They just want us to listen." Before Clara could stop her, Helena ran toward the voices, vanishing between the trees. Clara screamed her name, but the forest echoed it back wrong. Her own voice distorted, stretched into something inhuman. She wandered alone for what felt like days. The sky never changed. Daylight and night blended into one long twilight. Hunger gnawed at her, thirst blurred her thoughts. She began to hear the whispers constantly, sometimes outside her head, sometimes inside it. The forest seemed alive, pulsing with sound. When search teams found her sitting on a rock near the cliff edge, she was dehydrated, her lips cracked, her eyes empty. She whispered over and over, "They're singing in the fog." Authorities concluded it was exhaustion and hypothermia. They searched for the others but found no trace, no footprints, no gear, nothing. Locals said Halvern takes what it wants and leaves nothing behind. Months passed. Clara tried to rebuild her life. But at night, she heard them faint echoes in her apartment walls, voices calling from her recordings. Once, her camera turned on by itself, displaying an image she hadn't taken. The clearing in the woods, swallowed by fog. Then one morning, her neighbors reported her missing. Her cabin door was unlocked, her car still outside. On her desk was her broken camera and a notebook filled with drawings of spirals. The last page read, "They don't die, they echo." Investigators found one photo on the memory card. The same clearing, but this time, 5 silhouettes stood in the mist, side by side, facing the mountain. None of their faces were visible. Today, hikers who stray near the echo path tell stories. They hear footsteps matching theirs, delayed by half a second. Laughter from deep in the fog. Sometimes, they hear their own names whispered softly by voices that sound almost familiar. Rangers have closed the trail, but curiosity still draws some in. None stay long. Locals say the mountain listens. It remembers every sound, every word, every cry. It gives them back but twisted, hollow, hungry. And if you ever find yourself hiking near Halvern Ridge on a foggy night, and you hear someone behind you calling your name, don't answer. Because the echo path always calls back. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next mystery waiting in the shadows. And tell me in the comments, would you dare to hike the echo?